Good morning, everybody, and you're very welcome to Bealtaine Cottage. My name is Colette O'Neill, and I've been here 21 years co-creating with Mother Earth, actually, but creating the Bealtaine Project, which is all about restoring the land, 3 acres of pearland, and planting a woodland, as well as gardens and doing up the Old Cottage. So you're very welcome. And there's a massive storm on the way. It's called Storm Floris, Floris, and it has the potential to be quite devastating. At the moment, it's forming out in the Atlantic, and it's on its way. It's going to be here by tomorrow evening. So I'm hoping that everything will stay in place, but I am resolved to seeing potential damage on Monday, although the storm is going to pass over into Monday, so it may not be gone until Monday evening. But I'm quite prepared for damage, and I know what to do now. So, to take the damage, turn it into something useful, turn it into something practical like the dead hedges, coppice, keep coppicing, keep pollarding. Don't let trees in the path of potential storms get too high. Make sure that trees that are planted have roots that will go down rather than across. So here, yesterday, coppiced the rest of the hazel. The hazel should be coppiced anyway every year. Well, not every year, every 2 or 3 years actually. And you can see it's been growing since I did the initial coppicing. So there's so many learning curves now to be embraced if people are prepared to embrace them regarding storms. Yeah, we have to learn to live with them. And I'm not going to get into the debate of whether it's climate change or not. Let's just say it's a natural cycle, because these storms have happened in the past, although not as frequently, I think. It's hard to tell. Need to do a lot of research on that. I've already done some very interesting research on that, by the way, and I will be telling you all about it. Okay, a little bit of information about climate change. I rarely take experts at their word. What I do is I do a lot of research for myself, and I do it on a much wider scope. So I'm not just looking at climate change or global warming, I'm looking on a much wider perspective. And I find diaries, especially diaries that go back hundreds of years, very interesting. This is the diary of John Evelyn, Esquire. Okay. Now, this particular copy is from 1818. But the page I'm looking at, and I only just have sort of perused these pages, I haven't gone into it in depth yet, is 1684. So it's page 576 in the year 1684. July the 2nd. I went to the observatory at Greenwich where Mr. Flamstead took his observations of the eclipse of the sun, now almost 3 parts obscured. There has been an excessive hot and dry spring, and such a drought still continued as never was in my memory. 13th of July. Some small sprinkling of rain, the leaves dropping from the trees as in autumn. And then I go further down the page. 10th of August. We had now rain after such a drought as no man in England had known. 24th of August. Excessive hot. We had not had above 1 or 2 considerable showers, and those storms, these 8 or 9 months, Many trees died for the want of refreshment. Okay, so I'm going to park that there. Interesting, is it not? So let me just mark that page again. John Evelyn's diary. And I suspect there's many more of such books, because people during that time and for the 100 or so years that followed quite often had their diaries published. There we go. So here we have the latest dead hedge. This isn't a straight one, it's a round one. It's been created in the round, using all the materials that we've been pollarding and coppicing from trees. So bits of evergreen tree, that's the Great Western Cedar, hazel, you can see it by its silvery bark, sycamore and other trees. And created a big round circle of stakes, and then woven lots of hazel. You can see the hazel leaves still on here where that's been coppiced. Woven lots of hazel and willow and other pieces into it in order to secure it. This is now formally opened as a wildlife habitat, because of course this is a very secure habitat, because it's been woven so tightly, but with enough space for small mammals and birds, etc., to get in there, to be safe, to nest, to just hibernate. So yeah, very pleased with this. Yeah. Well, that was very interesting, wasn't it? John Evelyn's diary. And I'm going to be searching out a lot more books. I'm a great lover of antique books and vintage books, simply because they're not just interesting to read, but they give us some real information about our history. Diaries especially. And this is something now which is becoming an issue in this day and age. Like, we're living through very, very strange times. There's so much censorship. Sorry, I'm actually stumbling over this word because I can't believe I'm saying it in the year 2025. There is so much censorship going on, with lots more coming down the line. I am quite sure that you're all aware of that. And it's almost unbelievable. I mean, a lot of people are sort of in a state of shock at what's happening. So I deduce from this that information has been kept back from us, because it's not just censorship, is it? It's not just government saying this, that and the other, and we're going to arrest you for making that Facebook post or whatever, or censoring your videos, and that's happened to some of mine, or shadow banning you, and that's happening to me all the time. Not that I give two hoots, actually, about that. But it really does behove us to seek out information from the past, because, believe you me, the past will be erased at some point. There will be a crackdown on any dissent whatsoever. Now, I'm just not one of those people that would hold back for fear of being punished in some way or other. So I am more than willing to voice my dissent, to be a dissenting voice, to question things. Because the last time I looked, questioning something was actually a healthy thing to do, and wasn't regarded as some kind of conspiracy. So I keep an open mind, and I read books from the past, And I stop every so often in reading any book and sit and think and ask myself, well, I didn't know about that. That's strange. And in particular now, this book that I'm reading, John Evelyn's Diary, there's some really quite, to my mind's eye, bizarre things. Like, where did that drought come from? Where did all that heat come from? Back in 1684. And that was just a particular page that I was reading. It wasn't, I didn't spend ages seeking that out. That literally sort of popped out at me. So, as I used to say when I was a teacher, teaching young minds, question everything. Question everything. Do not take as some kind of word of God what so-called experts say. Question everything. Don't stand in a particular spot and say, this is it, this is what I believe, the experts have told me, therefore I'm not listening to anything else. Because that's what you're encouraged to do. So, I question everything. I think, as well, in many ways, that's what keeps me with a young outlook, a vibrant outlook, an energy, which people always comment on. They always say, well, you don't seem like a 70-year-old woman. But then why should I? Where did all that come from? Oh, you're this age now, so you've got to be like this. No, absolutely not. This is what makes life interesting and also allows you to have a journey, to have an evolving journey, rather than just being stuck in some revolving door. And it's like my youngest daughter has often said, Mum, we either revolve or evolve. And I also believe, as a Celtic pagan, that we have this life in order to help grow our souls. It's not a dead-end street. It's not a one-way ticket. It's none of those things that we're led to believe. It is a chance to grow our souls. And the next stage will reveal to us, this is what I believe, reveal to us whether we've done that job or not. So there we go. As I'm walking around the garden, these are the thoughts that are in my head. I'm just talking them. I'm talking them out. I'm speaking them out to you and the universe. And I did actually get a comment the other day. I think it may have been on Facebook. Or it may even have been on Patreon. But the eternal question, don't you ever get lonely? Well, when my mother stayed with me, and she stayed with me for quite some time, and she wasn't well, but she said to me several times, I don't mind getting up in the middle of the night to go and use the bathroom. And I never feel alone. And when I pass through the kitchen to reach the bathroom, Colette, there's so many people in there. there's a whole crowd of people in there. And I often thought about that, and I thought, could it be that she's aware of the ancestors? Or could it be the people who've lived in the cottage before me? Or, more interesting, could it be all the people whose energy has touched this spot from the past? Yeah. Anyway, showing you round my beautiful garden. Well, I think it's beautiful anyway. And the day before, the next storm is due to hit, Storm Floris. And Floris has been named by the British Meteorological Office. It's going to hit Scotland very bad, but before it goes to Scotland, it's going to hit the northwest of Ireland, which is here where I live. And I'm not too worried about it. You know, expect the worst, hope for the best. But considering that I think the garden and the land has improved since the last storm, where many trees came down, but many opportunities were opened up. And as you know, I continue to grow trees. I nurture them, I grow them in pots, and bring them on. I've got some beautiful trees ready to plant out. So I'm prepared. I'm prepared for loss, and I'm prepared for rebirth. Replanting, that is. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with the rest of this video as I walk around. There's not a lot of sound of bird song at the moment because the birds rest up after midsummer, and they don't really spark back into vocal life until around August, mid-August, late August sometimes. So this is the quiet time. Well, I say quiet, there's a machine in the background cutting something. Yeah. So while I'm just thinking about it, I did let you all know, I think it was in a little post, about the book that I'm working on at the moment, which I'm hoping to get to the printers later this month. Yeah, I'm going to be very optimistic there and say later this month. Now, those of you who have followed this blog for all the years that I've been recording it, which I think started in 2010 or 11, will know that I've always had a fascination and quite a passion for herbs. And indeed, since 2004, I have been growing. I think at one point there was over 40 herbs that I recorded in a video that I was growing. So yes, I'm reasonably knowledgeable about them, and more interested though in the history, and particularly interested in the history regarding herbs growing in Ireland. And of course this would include certain trees as well. So I've been collating lots and lots of research over the years, and I've been going back over the various posts on my website, which do go back to 2010. Excuse me. And yeah, I thought it was time to put it all into black and white, on paper, in a properly printed book, because it's like everything else to do with electronics. We don't know how soon or how long the internet will keep going for. And as with John Evelyn's diary, proof therein that if it's written in a book, then it's knowledge, it's worth holding on to. And I look back to the historical reference to Carthage and the great library at Alexandria, which the Romans destroyed. And I think the order for the complete destruction of Carthage was leave no two stones standing, one on the other. So historically, yeah, there's regularly been a sort of a clamp down on knowledge. So, as with everything I write, I pay to have it printed myself in a local printers, thus keeping everything far from the greedy claws of Mr. Bezos and his Amazon. I had talked about putting books up onto the internet at some point because the cost of printing has got expensive, and moreover the cost of posting the books, as some of you will recognise, has become extremely expensive, and I include that cost into what I charge for each book. So for example, a book that I sell at €24, which is A Cottage in 3 Acres, it costs me just over €13 to post it to Australia or New Zealand, and I think it's €11.40 to post it to the United States. And by the time I've paid PayPal and paid the printers, there's very, very little profit left in it for me. But nevertheless, I enjoy writing, and I shall continue on. I will not be deterred. Even if I only end up making 50 cents a copy, I will continue. Yeah. So that's what I'm working on. And the working title is the Bealtaine Cottage Herbal. And going back into the history, going back into the lore, going back into all the various old druidic ways. Because herbs, of course, have always been important, and more importantly, the knowledge of the wise women of Ireland. And I'm glad that we're able to say in this day and age the wise women in Ireland, because never were they called witches. Never. We didn't have witch burnings here in Ireland, I think with the exception of one, and that was under English jurisdiction. So yeah, wise women, and revered, and their knowledge kept within the old books and the old annals, and passed down word of mouth, as most of the history has been, and often written into poetry, and more often written into songs that we still sing today. So there's a lot to be said for keeping the history and questioning everything, because it's only through questioning that we ever get to any, microcosm of the truth. And and indeed, the historians even from the Roman Empire, Tacitus, Marcus Aurelius, much of what they have had to say has come down to us through the centuries as the most truthful record of that time. So yeah, books. Is it any wonder that I'm so fascinated with books, and have been since I was a small child? Anyway, blessings to you all. I've put a little piece in about the knitting that I've been doing, and in particular the pattern that I've been following, and that's coming up next. Blessings to you all, and stay safe. So I was asked very specifically for a bit more information on the ponchos, because this is my third one now, that I've been knitting. And this is my latest one. And I'm using this beautiful cashmere and, see now, what is it? Let me just get the, there we go. Let me just see what this says. Oh, upside down, hold on. I'll have to have a closer look at it, hold on. Cash merino and silk. Cash merino and silk, okay? But this is the pattern. I think this is what people are looking for. That's the number of the pattern, 4788. It's a Wendy Aran pattern, and this is the finished product. Now there's also a pattern there for a jumper, which I won't use, and for a child's poncho, which I will use at some point. But anyway, just thought I'd pop that in. Blessings to you all, and may there be lasting peace on Mother Earth.